The Ravens are third in the early Super Bowl odds for next season. Lamar Jackson is the favorite to win MVP next season. But it doesn't matter. I'm genuinely tired of having a lot of offseason hype and expectations for how good the Ravens are going to be. You know, Lamar Jackson's going to win another MVP. The way they just voted on that last MVP, that award does not carry the same value. And this video is not a negative video. I'm not a negative person. This video is to kind of point out that all this hype that we're going to see again throughout the offseason, everyone's going to be talking about how dominant the Ravens are going to be again this year. We are going to be really good again. Lamar Jackson could win another MVP, no doubt. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. We're going to be a great team again, but it doesn't matter. We've seen dominant regular season after dominant regular season. If Lamar Jackson's healthy, the Ravens have a dominant regular season. It's happened every single year of his career, besides the years that he got injured. Now we got Derrick Henry. We're going to be talking about some extensions here later in this video. We're going to be dominant again. I know this. But I'm ignoring the Super Bowl odds. I'm not getting my hopes up again. I fell into that trap over and over and over again, year after year. We're heading into year 8 of the Lamar Jackson era. And I fell into this trap about 7 times, besides the years he got injured, I guess. And it's all about the playoffs. It's all about the postseason. So, yeah, we're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy the offseason. We're going to enjoy the regular season. Football is beautiful, man. It's fun being a fan. It's especially a beautiful journey when you love one team with everything you got and you're watching the ins and outs throughout the season. It's a beautiful journey, man. I love this journey. I will forever love this journey that we're going to go on season after season. But I'm not coming into this season talking about how we're going to win a Super Bowl, talking about how we're top 3 favored to win a Super Bowl and Lamar Jackson's going to win an MVP. That should not be the conversation. I know a lot of people don't believe that right now anyway. But I'm seeing a lot of this flying around, how the Ravens are favored and going to have another dominant year. And they probably will have another dominant year. But I don't want to let that Super Bowl belief right now creep in. I've been let down too many times. And it's not that we can't do it. I know we can do it. And we're going to stack up the trenches. We're also talking about that later in the video. We're going to take a look at some offensive line and defensive line free agents. But I don't want to let the Super Bowl favorites, the MVP favorites, I don't want to let that creep into my soul. I want to enjoy the ride week by week. When the playoffs get here, it's still week by week. Are we going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I'm done with the predictions. I'm done with looking that far ahead. And I'm not even playing the game, but I fell into it. I know a lot of fans can probably feel what I'm saying. I fell into it when we have this good of a team because we are stacked, man. We are stacked. The Ravens have as good of an opportunity as anybody to win the Super Bowl. And I come into every single year just like, yo, we're going to win the Super Bowl. My friends will ask me, like off camera, like, who do you think's genuinely going to win the Super Bowl? I genuinely believe it's Baltimore like every year for the last 8 years, 7 years. I genuinely believe that. But I don't want to think that way this year. It's not that I won't talk about how good we're going to be. We are going to be great. There is a reason to be excited and confident. But I'm not looking that far ahead is what I'm saying. None of that matters. The MVP next season, that's a year away. And I know why people talk about it because it just happened. And you just want to jump forward to something Ravens related and some maybe award that we can get next year, like a Super Bowl or an MVP, because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl. Josh Allen somehow just won the MVP. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't hold any weight. It might be fun to just talk about, and I've done that in the past where I'm like, this is the year. And deep down, I understand it definitely can be the year. But I'm not looking that far ahead. You know what I mean? I'm looking to the immediate future. What do we got coming up? Free agency is in March. Who are we extending? We'll talk about that a little bit in this video. Who are we signing? The draft's in April. I'm attacking it like that. You know what I mean? My mind is not thinking about next year's Super Bowl or next year's MVP. My mind's thinking about the immediate offseason tasks in front of us. Let's retool this roster. Let's stack the trenches. I dropped a video on that yesterday. Let's stack the trenches. I think that's the most important thing we can do this offseason. Maybe add another receiver. But a pass rusher, stacking the D-line, stacking the offensive line as much as possible, attacking that in the draft, in free agency, that's the most important task this offseason. And then May, June, rookie minicamp, July, training camp, August, training camp, preseason. That's what I'm excited for. I'm not thinking this far ahead, man. It doesn't matter. But let's move on. In other news, Diontae Johnson is officially awarded to us now, and he's also then an unrestricted free agent. So if he does sign somewhere, we still will get a comp pick for him. That's why we reclaimed him off the waivers at the end of the season. I know he's not coming back to the Ravens, but at this point, we're kind of rooting for Diontae Johnson to get as big of a deal as possible. I don't think he's going to be able to get a huge deal, but we should hope that he does get a contract elsewhere and it is as big as possible, because then we are awarded a draft pick, a comp pick based off that contract value. So we are now rooting for Diontae Johnson in free agency. Don't want him coming back here. He won't come back here, but we're rooting for him to get a deal elsewhere. We're also probably going to see some extensions coming soon. Guys to look out for on the Ravens that could possibly get extensions, or I think will get extensions, is Derrick Henry for sure. We just heard him say that he wants to finish his career as a Raven. I know those words got kind of twisted. I think the article or tweet that got put out was that he wants to retire a Raven. I think he really said, I just want to finish my career in Baltimore, and I don't think he's retiring this season. So obviously it's up to the front office to make that decision, but I'm pretty sure they'd like Derrick Henry to stick around for a few more years, and if you extend him, you can lower this year's cap hit to clear up a little bit of money. So I think a Derrick Henry 1 or 2 year extension on top of this year that he currently has in front of him is definitely coming. Another possible extension that makes sense is Marlon Humphrey. If they do want to keep him around longer term, he seems like a forever Raven type of guy. And they could also lower his cap hit. He's entering his final year, so an extension there would make sense. And then the Mark Andrews decision, which we already made a video on right after the season ended, but that is a huge pending decision. He's entering his final year as well as Derrick Henry and Marlon Humphrey with a $17 million cap hit for Mark Andrews. Do they extend him? Does he finish his career with Baltimore and we lower that cap hit, or do they let him play out this final year and potentially move on? Those three are probably the most obvious extensions, but maybe even a Lamar Jackson extension makes sense. Instead of a restructure, you could add another 2 years onto his deal and move money around. So it's all about creating cap room. We don't have much cap room right now, so there will be extensions coming up. Free agency's a month away in March, so these extensions will have to get done soon. The restructures are going to have to get done soon. The Ravens are going to have to clear money, and I expect these are the main guys that possibly are in line for an extension. I'll be making a lot of free agent type videos over the next month or so, especially as we enter free agency, about individual players who might make sense. But let's just look at the overall list of free agents on the O-line and the D-line. So at guard, there's Zach Martin, Brandon Scherf, James Daniels, Kevin Zeitler, Patrick McCary, Will Hernandez, Ben Bredesen, Mekhi Becton, Dalton Risner, Tevin Jenkins. I think there's a lot of potential options there that the Ravens can find some value and add some, either a starting guard or just guard competition. And then at tackle, depending on what we do with Ronnie Stanley, obviously if we bring Ronnie Stanley back, then we probably won't need a tackle. And we could also draft these guys too, but I just wanted to take a look at who is available. And Ronnie Stanley kind of heads that list at left tackle. There's also Cam Robinson, Joseph Noteboom, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, Trenton Brown, Kelvin Beachum. I don't love the tackle free agents as much as I do some of the guards. So if we did sign a tackle, it's probably just bringing Ronnie Stanley back. And that's another massive decision that is ahead. He's not going to be cheap. We're looking at around $20 million per season. And that is a huge investment. I'm not against it. I made a video about Roger potentially switching to left and us letting Ronnie walk. And I think, honestly, that's the direction that the Ravens could go. But I'm not against bringing Ronnie back. It's just, I'm a realist, and it's tough to make those cap numbers work. But if we can find a way to bring Ronnie back and still add at other positions, by all means, you know what I mean? Figure it out. I'm just saying, looking at our cap situation as it currently stands, ahead of all these extensions and restructures that are ahead of us, I don't know how much money we're going to actually clear. So paying Ronnie $20 million a year for multiple years is a crazy financial risk. So it's not that I don't love Ronnie or wouldn't welcome him back. I would. I just, it's not easy to make that money work. And then moving over to some free agents on the defensive line, we got DeMarcus Lawrence, Josh Sweat, B.J. Hill at D-tackle, DJ Jones at D-tackle, Marcus Davenport, Dietrich Wise, John Kaminsky, Brandon Graham, Diontae Fowler, Emmanuel Ogbah, kind of older names there, Solomon Thomas. And then just looking at edge guys, some overlap here, but Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, Matt Judon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Josh Sweat, Chase Young, Aminuhu, Baker, Davenport, Dietrich Wise. There's a lot of options to add on the defensive line and the offensive line. Really just depends what the contract, what the market is for these guys. I don't think the Ravens are going to be huge players early in free agency. We have seen them kind of dip their toes in that the last few years with big safety contracts like Earl Thomas and Marcus Williams, and then Derrick Henry last year. I know that wasn't like a massive contract, but it was a big player early in free agency. And I just don't think that the Ravens are going to be big spenders early in free agency. If we're going to go spend a lot of money, it's probably going to be on bringing Ronnie Stanley back like we did last year with Matabike. So we'll see how it plays out. I'll dive into more details about some of these guys' names and kind of look at their recent history and things like that. But I just kind of wanted to go over an overall list of who's even available. But let me know what free agents that you guys like, who makes the most sense to you, who should the Ravens add this offseason. I got a Q&A segment dialed up for tomorrow episode. I already got a few questions for that, but keep dropping questions in the comments, man. I've been plucking certain questions you guys ask, and I'll just be answering them at some of the end of these videos. This video went a little bit longer than I originally planned, so we'll bump the Q&A until tomorrow, but keep dropping questions, man. I definitely love to hear what you guys are asking. We got some basketball questions, some life questions, some Ravens questions, whatever. Just ask anything in the comments. I'm also thinking about going live once a week, having guests on. If you guys would be down for that. I know I don't really ever go live unless it's on someone else's channel, but I definitely want to go live, and then we can kind of interact, you know, in real time, which is cool and exciting. So if you guys would watch the lives, let me know. If you guys want to see guests on, which Ravens content creators do you rock with the most? Who do you think that I should bring on the channel? I've already had Coach Evans on. I've had Engraven. I've had Noah from For the Flock. Would be welcome to bring all them back as well. But who else should I bring on the channel? Let me know. We're going to be trying to collab as much as possible throughout the offseason. But I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.